actually accentuating my coconut oil glow. Shout out Julep. So sorry I'm not buying your products anymore.
All right. We are going live. Here we go. Happy Third Thursday, everyone. This is your coach, Elaine Dazan, with my partner in crime, my usual suspect who shows up with me, poet, goddess, lover of purple, of all things purple, #1 Prince fan in the universe, Blog Talk Radio's Queendom Networks, Sylvia Blalock, my sister-in-law. Hello. Hello, everybody. And so we are here today to take a look at something that I often think about, and that's letting grief in and letting it go. And the reason why I wanted to talk about it this month is because May brings up so much for people, because there's Mother's Day. Recently now, there's not now, but AAPI Heritage Month is also going on. And between those two events, I feel that there's some things that individuals may be carrying with them right now, because grief is a response to loss. And just to offer some space and some time to reflect on grief and looking at what happens when the response shows up is what we're here to do today. And so this was something that I opened up for anyone to attend. And, you know, in case that you wanted to attend, that's why we're going live. It's a conversation I think we have privately sometimes in our mind and with those we trust the most. So I just wanted to offer up some space to give you a little forum, or even from a viewing situation, about what we're going to be doing today. So that's what I had up my sleeve. And it's just a little something about grief. I lost my mom when I was 13 in 1987. And there she is. It was a very tough moment because I lost her in a car accident. And I went through the whole grief cycle for sure. And I think that understanding the grief cycle and taking a look at it is something worthwhile today. So, you know, Sylvia, when you and I've talked about grief over the years, so I'm interested in what you're facing or approaching as we look at grief in May, on the cusp of a post-pandemic world, right? I think it's above and beyond Mother's Day, above and beyond AAPI Heritage Month. There might be some review of the last 12 to 14 months about time being lost, opportunities changing. So that's why I wanted to just kind of contain some space for us to talk. So yeah, I'm interested in your thoughts around grief these days.
Oh, Elaine, to begin with, Coach Ed, thank you for even broaching this very timely subject. As you already know about me, I've been addressing personal grief, as in actual personal losses to myself, in ways that helped me figure out how to address grief, because some things didn't work and some things did. When they were family members, when it was like cut to the bone, there is no process, no one process that you can apply to it. But let's take, this is the month of Memorial Day. It is also, we are coming up on the anniversary of the death of George Floyd, where we experienced national and then international grief for the belief that racism was dead, that justice could prevail. There is a grief that we lived in our bubble and now we can't pretend to be in that bubble. It's almost like we are grieving the Disney world we wanted to live in. That is a broader way to address grief. An even broader way that I am addressing grief is the pandemic. I have 2 vaccine shots, a wonderful decorative collection of masks, and a whole big old world out there that I am returning to in one form or another. So now I can stop the pandemic panic, whatever it is that makes me afraid to go outside. Should I wear a mask? Should I not wear a mask? Am I getting a vaccine or whatnot? To actually stopping and saying, oh my God, all these Americans are dead. I can actually look at that without it being a rotating number that keeps getting higher to a number I have to fix my attention on in hindsight, because it's the healthiest way to do it. I cannot grieve every day.
Ooh,
Well,
I
now,
cannot grieve every day.
yes, look at the mental health role that we are going into the summer with as we take a deep breath and begin to collectively grieve for real. Because you cannot maintain daily grief. You can't maintain it. So as I pull back the macro on that, now I'm looking at grief from a much bigger place. And it doesn't have to be laser focused on just me. I'm still doing the work, and it isn't as intensely focused right in. There is something that I grieve every May, every Mother's Day, that tears my heart out every year. And this year was the first year I didn't. And as long as I can remember. And it was because you cannot grieve every day. You can't, and not even to that degree, and function. And I pulled it back and I grieved with the world and said, my collective grief is easier to bear.
Oh.
And that's what happened this year. It's easier to bear. And I can cry through it. I can be angry through it. But the collective grief is so much easier to bear than that isolated pain that you feel that you owe the subject of your grief. You owe them that pain. We don't. We just owe them those memories. I believe we owe them the memories. We don't owe them pain. And you don't learn that until you pull it back.
That whole zoom out. Yep.
Yep. Yes.
That's so interesting how you see bearing collective grief.
Yes.
It's easier than the personal, that really intimate grief we carry.
Truth. I wrote a line that recently. We are, I believe it was, we are a country stitched together in makeshift memorials and candlelight vigils.
Is that in a poem?
Yeah, I started it a couple of weeks ago. Still working on it, but yes. It is.
Ooh, and candlelight vigils. Yeah, and that's evoking those shrines we see on the streets.
Yes. I'm trying to find it now, but yeah, pretty much every time you turn around, it was thoughts and prayers. And I was like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't even want to dishonor the truth of the statement, thoughts and prayers, but there is something that cuts to the bone, that we are connected by candlelight vigils. Makeshift memorials is the one that got me. Like, we're slapping together memorials on a dime to where Dollar Store has a section for that.
Dollar Store has a section. My goodness. Oh, the commercialism, bringing in the commercialism.
It's trippy. But
so,
true.
And as we talk about, the language we have and how we get creative in moving this grief and transforming it into something else. One of the lines that sticks out at me, and it's been something I've been very intentional this month, is to really look at quotes from Asian American Pacific Islander entertainers, leaders, writers, creators. And Celeste Ng, who wrote Little Fires Everywhere, has a line that's, the things that go unsaid are often the things that eat at you. And I just really vibed with that quote. It makes me think. And if we were in a workshop, this would be the moment to take a few minutes and reflect on the quote, because it's just so important to, let something in and let it visit. And when it exits, there's more space, because it's not just the space, it's the energy we release to move our attention towards something that inspires us or is aligned with what we're working towards or what we're reaching for. So when I mentioned that quote to you about the things that go unsaid are the things that eat at you, because you're a poet and you love reading, you love music, and just have a great way of describing life experience that you've had. What do you think about when you read that line?
Well, we're walking. I know it's kind of what I was speaking to with regards to feeling like we have to carry the pain. Sorry, somebody came to my door unexpectedly, so I have to get the door. We feel like we have to carry the pain as though we owe it. There are the things that we carry that require process to get through. When you say that line, it makes me think of those things that we feel obliged to carry. I am going to have to step away quickly to get my door. But what I say to that is, what it brought up for me immediately was the things we feel obliged to carry because we are capable of processing them, but we don't.
Mm-hmm.
Almost like part of grief is we actually volunteer to suffer. I'm going to step away really quickly. I'm so sorry.
Oh no, we're live. This is how it goes.
Okay, I'm muting. I'll be right back.
So as Sylvia attends to life right now, I just want to take a moment and think about the line for myself. The things that go unsaid often eat away at you. And for me, I can honestly say that carrying a loss of somebody so close to me for over 13 years and not really talking about it and acting on what I felt I lost with time, relationship with my mother, the things I would never learn from her. This was a time where women did not journal a lot. This is not stuff my mom thought about to leave me things or memories that I could carry with me if ever anything changed in our relationship. And not feeling comfortable with what I was going through, and certainly back then, not knowing what was available to me in terms of resources to work through it, I just carried this loss, and it came out in my music. I was a drummer for some years, and it helped me take what I was feeling and put it into a creative capacity, where when I was feeling incredibly angry, it would just be a moment of me taking it out on the Skins, playing Guns N' Roses or something. And it wasn't until I started playing jazz that I realized the depth of what I lost. There are just certain songs at certain tempos where it made me think like, wow, she'll never hear me play this. But she did. I mean, now that I'm older, I understand that she did. But at the time, being, 13 to 16, when I was in high school playing drums a lot, I didn't really think of that aspect of her being present. It was simply because she was gone altogether. And that was the response I had, is it was very material in a way, where because she was gone physically, she was just outright gone, and I didn't know how to deal with that. And I went 13 years, so from 13 to 26, It's a long time to not simply say, I need support and help.
You know, I spent a long time needing approval and wanting to take the time that I was allotted on this earth to earn the approval of the people I needed it from. And one of them died before I could achieve the goal that I felt would gain me his approval. Now, I already had his approval, but I couldn't feel it yet. And it was things that I was processing for myself, trauma or pain. But when he passed, before I could get that feeling of approval, I felt that I had mismanaged time. And I blamed myself subconsciously for him dying before I could gain his approval. Now, as complex as that sounds, the taking on responsibility for him dying before I could gain his approval or do the thing, conduct my business, as it were, was my way of having any kind of power at all over something that was completely, absolutely out of my control. If I could take something that was my fault, then it happened because of me. And that's a power to a degree that I can wield over it versus it being completely out of my control. How could this happen? What the what? It is the craziest twist. I can say crazy because when I look at it in the rear view, I'm like, okay, I hadn't even got my superpowers yet. And already I was doing godlike things badly. Better to do godlike things badly than not be able to do anything. Where do we get this? Where do we get this?
Right. It's that chatter in our head. That's where we get it from.
That's it. Be the pattern breaker on that stuff.
Right there. The pattern breaker on the chatter in our head.
Yes.
And I actually posted it, and this is something like at some point I'm going to talk about. Chatter by Ethan Kross, really great book.
Okay.
He does refer to the chatter in our head as the itty bitty shitty committee.
I like him already.
And because of that term, I just really think about harnessing the chatter in a way that is serving me quickly, but not so quick that I miss the things that the chatter is trying to create awareness around, for sure.
Okay.
For sure. And I feel that that's what this entire month has been right now. And this is a culmination of everything that I've observed around, the grief and really embracing what I don't know about Filipino American history and literature, even Filipino history and literature from the motherland. There's aspects I still don't know. And I'm okay with that. I'm sad that I don't know. And the moment where I feel a certain way about it, just judging myself for it, or why haven't I learned it sooner? I let that in. And it's interesting how now it only makes me smile because now I have the opportunity to learn it with my kids. And perhaps that's why I haven't learned it all yet. I did a great few years of study in university on Filipino American literature and Filipino American history, which helped inform me about some things. And so I just really am embracing the opportunity now to keep going and learn with the kids as they learn about the United Farm Workers of America. I guess a part of American history that you don't get to read all the time. And now, because of all of the movement and all of the organizations wanting change and wanting to enrich education in a way that's more inclusive, they'll have a chance to learn about the Filipino leaders that were part of that movement to unite the farm workers. And then we go back to learning more about that time in Watsonville and the Central Valley, about how migrant workers existed with certain laws that kept them from marrying, being successful, and you just start having the opportunity to keep going out into different spokes of history because of that entry point or that entryway. So that chatter is just something that is useful more and more as I've grown over the last year during this pandemic, because there has been quite a bit, and harnessing it is a gift.
Mm-hmm.
It really is a gift. And I just really appreciate the time that we've been given. You know, all is not lost. All is not lost.
Oh no. I look at you and the way that you think about and address needing to learn Filipino history when you kind of are Filipino history. We're not going to even dig too deep into that right now, except to say that as you step into being who you are in Filipino history, your story, just your story, says a lot about Filipino history, the true story of it, as well as how it is packaged to be represented in America.
Mm-hmm.
And as you live both how you were positioned to be and how you never fit that box because you are who you are, to come to where you are now, being able to then say, not why didn't I, but now I can look more deeply into the history that I am helping to write. It's inevitable that you're going to be in that history. So if you're going to read your own, you can't help but kind of on the stuff that happened before you did. And as you're pointing out, hey, mommy did this, this, and this, but before I did this, they did this. It's easier to connect those dots when you are a dot.
Is that part of another poem?
It isn't, but I'm going
You've got to write that one down.
Now. That was actually off the top of my dome, and I'm writing down.
To connect the dots, you have to be a dot.
Yes, it's easier to connect those dots when you are a dot. Figure yourself in the number. It's easier to count them.
I love these lives because we're gathering poetry acorns here. I love it.
Right? My griot seeds are popping.
Ooh, boy. So we're taking a moment, ladies and gentlemen,
y'all,
and all others watching, to make sure we capture the poetry of Sylvia's words.
Jeez.
And this is a demonstration, I think, and an illustration of letting the grief in.
Yeah.
And giving it a little props, not huge, but just a little prop, but like, hey, thanks for showing up, because I'm responding in a certain way. And certainly with the support from you, I'm seeing more about what I can do, what's ahead. And it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. And as we've often seen, maybe not so in our face, but this is something we have reference to in passing or in different situations or in different internet surfing late at night or early in the morning. This idea of a grief cycle and how there's stages to it. And, you know, this is not a moment of therapy as much as it is, here's a tool to identify what stage you can be in this cycle. And I can honestly say I was in denial after my mom passed for a long time. And I was steeped in anger for a long time. And when you have friends that just call it out and say, hey, the help you need, I can't give you. Here's a number because I care so much. Here's a referral because I care so much. That moment helped me understand that the things I haven't said need to be said. Definitely with the bargaining, you know, if it could have been me instead of my mom, my dad would be happier right now.
If I had never been born, if I had blah, 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 and I think the bargaining comes in on that, trying to have power over something you have no power over. If I do this thing, can I have this thing?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mm.
And when our energy is like in that mode, it's not moving anywhere. It's just in that mode.
Flailing.
And depression wasn't something I experienced. I know I had some other things going on, and moving towards acceptance took a very long time. It took a very long time. It took other life lessons. It took not just losing my mom, but losing other things, losing opportunities, losing a friendship or two along the way. I think losing friendships hit me harder sometimes than some relationships.
Mm.
And the whole idea of everything having a beginning, middle, and an end helped me through this, because at some point, all of this anger is going to end. And there was just this light of, okay, once it ends, there's more after that. And that downbeat of the other side really helped move along. And another thing that I was noticing too, as I was looking back, and even this month, it's all fluid. This is not a linear thing. Right when I could be cool with something, I'm right back to where to where I started or somewhere in between. And when I think about this grief response and how we look at it and make it useful, the ability to move forward in a way that is mindful and aware, and there's action associated with it, that's where the whole coaching thing comes in for me. That forward motion in alignment with what's important and what's ahead. And that's my eye on the prize. If it's the case that the goal is to be a kind and loving family member to my kids, how long I sit with the grief can slow me down. And it's not that I stop it altogether. It's just, I'm at a stoplight, pausing and reflecting. And then at some point, I get to just say, go.
You know what I see on this cycle, this grief cycle, is that acceptance is not an endpoint. It's actually not an endpoint, because grief does not end. But the acceptance is how you can experience it as it goes on, because you could live in that anger space for a long time, or in any one of these spaces for a long time and stay right there. But acceptance can be how you choose to experience it. And in you, my observation was always that you channeled the missing the person into expressing yourself. And I think the word is saudade, Soudade. It is joy with a touch of sadness in Portuguese. I know, the things I know, right? It is joy with a touch of sadness. There is no word for that in English. We have limitation on words that express emotion in the English language. I know it. And so I picked them up randomly. But that one, we have the joy, but there will be a touch of sadness to that memory. It does not have to override the memory, though. It's a long story, but when you go on with the acceptance, and my mom was amazing. I hear you talk about her. She was amazing. And I look at Ronan and see her little face sometimes, that one picture, and I see it on your daughter, on Ronan. I see it on you when you're being pensive. And I see that she shines through and that you allow it. You may not call it depression, but when the face that you look in the mirror at wears no makeup, only wears beanies, is in such a way that when you look at yourself, she does not shine through you, that is depression. Because you are not allowing the shine through that is there. You are withholding that joy. And one day you accepted yourself and she shined through on you and you had a hard cry. I remember it. It was hard, but you saw her. I saw my mom in the mirror. Blah, blah. And that's when it started happening, that your grief became joy, sadness, but joy, because you saw your mom in your own face.
Mm-hmm.
That's just one way that it happens. But I tell you, I think seeing my father and seeing how much my brothers look like him, that we're not just random flotsam in the world. We're actually connected to this man in a way that we didn't truly see when we weren't looking or we weren't allowing it.
Right.
It's not a bad thing to say, oh, or grab the moment and have the moment, and it's going to hurt. But let it hurt, because there's something to come from this.
Mm-hmm.
And you've been so expressing it just in what you do. In what you do. You're the other person I know that does Japanese calligraphy, by the way.
And when you said that, it makes me think of the running that I do. And I remember a race very clearly where it was a trail race, one of the first few I did, and it was a half marathon trail race. And it was the year I ran 30 races because my mom was gone for 30 years. So this was in 2017. And to honor that absence of 30 years, every race I did, I thought about what age I was at in that year. And in that particular race, I was up on a mountain. The hills looked parched because it was brown and on the cusp of fall. And I just had the wind blowing at me because it's, why am I running up this trail with all this headwind? This is not fun. Why am I doing this?
Why did I think I'd like this?
Because I wanted to honor my mom. It was so important. And once I got to the top, I stopped and I looked at the expanse of, it was Las Trampas in San Ramon. And it just was this moment of, man, my mom loved gardening. She had yard of the month in Guam for 3 months in a row. She'd be just really pissed at all these brown hills and praying for water. And I just really felt like I was with her. And for all the grief I was carrying in that race and in that year, because every race signified a year I didn't have her, I realized I was running towards her. And not that I was going to see her anytime soon or see her immediately. I wasn't running away anymore. I was running towards her.
You are not going to make me cry in here. You might, but it'll be good tears. Wow.
And that's what I
Wow.
learned after 30 races. I was not running away from anything anymore.
Very powerful. Ooh, that's powerful.
And every time I finish, it's like I'm getting closer to a point of finding even more joy. And I really need a race. I need an in-person race soon, because that's just not something I've I think it's that community feeling, when you finish, you're amongst people and we're all going through something in that race. We're all in that, like, that race is so symbolic of life, right?
It's one little tape, but the running across the finish line into the welcoming embrace of success over and over, reinforcing that I did it. Now come hug me, world. Even if it's your two kids and your husband with signs going,
or the $5 t-shirt that comes with the race, man. It's like, I earned the t-shirt and the medal.
and I was just gonna say, and the medal, and being able to have the achievement and show yourself and her through you your achievement. It doesn't mean you even have anything to prove, so much as you are still able, and as long as you are able, you want to exceed and you want to show that you are still operating on that got my medal.
We're just surviving the race injury free. That's the goal.
That's also a thing.
That's the real goal of that whole situation, man. And yeah, I think it's those small moments, and it sneaks up on you when you let that grief in and you find yourself doing something with it. And sometimes it doesn't sneak up on you, and sometimes it's not natural. There's definitely elements of being very intentional and deliberate. For sure, I remember there are certain, I always take the same days off. The day she died, take it off. That's intentional and deliberate. Lighting a candle and letting it in and letting it out, that's intentional. And I think those rituals really help with that chatter, for sure.
It's good to have them
Mm-hmm.
and acknowledge that they're not superstitious woogie boogie stuff, but actual components. We get to accept the actual components of our own sacred space, our own private. It can be so internal that it is, or we have little altars, little things that we do, a prep, a thing. My father's picture, me and him in front of his Christmas tree, shining full dimples, is right as you walk in my house, surrounded by pictures of your kids. But that picture of me hugging him and both of us having the matching smiles has always been my favorite picture of us.
Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes I dance with it. Sometimes I get a little thing and I'm walking to the living room and I just snatch it right off the thing and I dance with this picture. I don't know when I noticed that I do this or that I hug it to my chest and dance when I have good news. I know he's always here. Sometimes I hear him, but that's mental. When I can dance with my representation of him, and however it looks, however it is, that's me celebrating with that. And it's what I have. Don't have to judge it.
Right.
Don't have to make it be a thing. No libations. He doesn't have a special altar. He's dad.
Mm-hmm.
He wouldn't have wanted a special altar. I have Miles Davis, Blue and Green, some kind of blues. That album was his album. So when I need to actually feel connected, not just still crazy dancing with that thing, but I'm going to connect with his actual vinyl album while I play the music. That's different. And that's more ritual.
Mm-hmm.
You have them, and they're things that are your mother's things that you can interact with. But there's the mother that you carry with you that you don't interact on or with, but take with you through your victories.
There he is. Special appearance.
Hi,
This is guest appearance here. Uh-oh. He's
Hi,
gonna,
honey.
oh, here we go. Here we go. He wants to talk. Hold on.
Okay. Hi,
Hi.
Peg. Mwah. How are you doing, sweetheart?
Good.
It's good to see you.
You too.
You're on Facebook Live right now.
You are. Where I'm zooming
Oh.
Facebook. Say hi, Facebook.
Hi. Okay.
Mwah.
Nice.
Yes, you can have the Pop-Tarts.
What just happened?
That's how kids win.
That is
I'm
so
gonna
cute.
ask for the trash food when mommy's on a Facebook Live with my auntie.
You know, because this is real life.
Mom, mommy spends her lunchtime on the third Thursday with a poet and a goddess,
We do
waxing
this.
philosophical on life.
Look.
Right?
I think that grief and how we address it is going to be, I think this might become a repeat topic because I know I planned on hitting it on my show as well. I think as we come out of this pandemic, as more people get their shots, the ability to grieve and how we address trauma of that emotional nature is going to be a much bigger topic that can't just be covered in therapy. There is a need to discuss both your personal grief and the overall state of grieving in order for us to collectively get through some portion of it. Now, there will be a memorial, multiple memorials set up, we can imagine. But before we can even get to that, the processing of what happened and that we lived through it, the survivor's remorse, the whole process, look at that whole process on a national, then international scale, and look at where we could get stuck as a country. Anger is where we are right now.
Denial for some.
Facts. I'm hoping that these kind of discussions and these opportunities, when people come back and look at this, the people who are seeing it live and the people who are going to see it later again, get to take what you're saying and apply it to the death of a parent, the death of a child, the death of a partner, the death of a friend, the death of an idea, the death of a relationship, the death of a government, if we must put a fine point on it. Applying what you're saying, if it's too close to the bone to just look at our own individual loss, move it out. Look at our collective loss. You can move in from there safely because you do have something to hold on to with this more global grief that you can say, oh, let me also grieve me. And then turn it to let me grieve me and share in this collective grief. But you don't have to do it in the most painful way possible.
Right.
And what you're showing is that.
Right. You're definitely not alone in these feelings. If there's anything I could impart in the 13 years I went alone. And sure, friendships show up, you tell certain nuggets, you share just enough to skate by. It gets very lonely for sure. And, I want to make sure that people understand there's a lifeline. And it may come up in the least, in when you don't expect it, you're not expecting it from a certain somebody, it's just a weird moment where it's like, I got to deal with it, man. I got to deal with it.
Mm.
And there's always a way. There's always a way. And when there seems to not be a way, there's resources. There's resources. And so I think just offering this live and this video and putting it somewhere, if you happen upon it, you're not alone. And I know I've been there. I know you've been there. Certainly, we've had family members and friends going through this too, and we all deal with it differently. But this moment of loss happens. And also, this is, Mental Health Month, right? Where we have to destigmatize this idea that we can't talk about these things. And we can. And we can demonstrate solidarity in ways that go beyond the political. And just really embrace that we are all working under systems of oppression at the end of the day.
Ooh.
And I look at our relationship, I look at my friendships, and to just always bear in mind whatever we see in terms of violence against communities, the ability to look at our differences as things that are differences, but we're not so different because we're all suffering from the same thing.
I don't think that we should all be existing under struggle Olympics, where we are all comparatively having worse struggles than each other, because it keeps us from realizing, how could you possibly have a struggle Olympics if everybody didn't have a struggle?
And what do you really get with a gold medal from the struggle Olympics?
What do you get? I don't think that you should trot out your grief as some sort of strange masochistic thing you put yourself through. I get wanting help with grief, but trotting out your trauma so that you can live in victim space, you are making other people aid and abet you to begin with, and not moving through your process. You kind of built yourself a home in one of those dots on that hill, decided to erect a whole castle there.
Yeah, comparison, man. Yeah, that was a moment.
Ooh.
That was a moment. Everyone's going through something.
The scale is either, what do I have to complain about? There are starving kids in whatever country of your choice, or mine is worse. And I'm going to prove it by one-upping trauma. Ugh. When the acceptance and the steps that get you there include the bargaining part of mine must be worse, theirs must be worse kind of stuff. If you're found lacking in the struggle Olympics, I don't think that's a bad thing, but you still have to address your trauma.
Yeah.
Ugh.
So I know we're at the top of the hour, and I think the topic of grief and letting it in, it takes courage. It takes space. Finding that right moment, you could be avoiding it, and having the moment show up and dealing with it later. Sometimes you strike when the iron's hot too, and being very brave and just going for it and really diving in, even when you may not want to, it could be really useful. And that's what I wanted to do today, was dive right into it, because at some point, I really do want to celebrate more of my heritage in a way that is really joyous without this harbinger of somebody going to come at me a certain way. You know, when your niece picked the formal Tagalog barong to wear on picture day, and to ask me if it's okay to walk to school because she was afraid somebody would pick up on the otherness of that shirt, the awareness kids have is very striking. The attention they have to what the feeds are saying or whatever they're hearing on the news and the radio, they're so observant. And to ask that question, it's a little sad because I'm grieving this idea of, man, when I was a kid, I didn't really worry about that kind of stuff. But I'm also letting in the idea that she's noticing and she's more aware and she's asking good questions. And I have to congratulate her on that. So I really want to move in a direction of going out. They had Filipino trash food from Jollibee the other week. So there's like, can we celebrate? Can we have Jollibee? I'm like, oh, okay. Well, if that's how you want to celebrate with some food, fine. And now they want to try something else. So
for everybody, yay!
So I need to make room for that. And letting some of this stuff go to make more room means I have the energy and the attention to move in that direction, to give them more experiences, to go to Seafood City. And maybe we will take the drive to Daly City and check out some areas. And we're eating tons of mini pandesal every single day because we keep getting 3 bags every other week from my dad
What's
who
wrong
visits.
with that, though?
There's nothing wrong with it, and that's the whole part of it, right? And they're embracing it too because they're starting to call me Nanay instead of mom.
Aww. Okay.
And I just really want to thank you for always taking the time to talk about these things that I just think about and offer space for, because in the business of busyness, we don't afford ourselves the time to always have these conversations.
I don't afford myself the time to have these conversations with other people, and I don't take advantage of it enough with you. However, when I have these kind of conversations, it's usually with you. So I feel if I'm going to have these conversations, I couldn't have them with a better person, as a part of my journey takes me in a direction that takes me away from places arguably I want to be. And you are the person that I can realize my growth with. It so happens that you are also holding space for where I was to where I am. And if I stop believing it, you go, wait, remember the time you were crazy? Note that you're not now. Growth. Thank you for being that person.
You were never crazy. You know,
I kind of thought I was crazy.
You thought you were, and you just needed the space and the resources to get you back on track.
Yes.
Right? And
yes,
that's what this process is in life. You know, you do it with your poetry, I do it with coaching, where there are systems that allow us to be who we're really meant to be. What's really inside of us. And that's the beauty of these conversations that I have with you. And I know it has some outreach to people we miss, you know, who we've worked with, cousins we don't speak to regularly because of the pandemic, who who trounce upon the video and go, "Did you and Sil really talk about that for like an hour?"
What?
Yeah, we did. Because we didn't get to go to Nana's house that day and do it in person.
That was that.
So this is literally a ear hustle at a party, you know, where
this is us at the Thanksgiving table when everyone is out doing the itis and we're going, really now?
And for anyone who doesn't have the time to just ear hustle a workplace water cooler conversation or anything, this is what this is for. This is what this is for. What? And so I just wanted to wrap it up with Third Thursday Hangout. I think it's going to be the thing. It's always brightened up my day this month, and it's an open invitation on my Facebook page, Your Coach Elaine Design. It gets put out on the socials, and so if it ever jives with your schedule to hop in at noontime, we invite you to join us, because you know we embrace family, we embrace connection. And so I want to close this out with a poem from you, Sylvia, today.
Got you covered. Putting on my glasses. Ready? We are a country stitched together by makeshift memorials and candlelight vigils. Dollar store bouquets and pink baby Jesus candles and concrete canyon rivers flow in the street. Chain link fences bedeck the shore with quick glue gun wreaths, 7-day candles rendered sacred by design. Whistling wails reverberate from them, now too sacred to clear. We are a chain stitch of prayer circles and solemn marches, backlit by flashbangs as viewed through tear gas clouds. Taper candles and solo cups, and a little poured out for the homies, the ancestors, the fallen, all of the many names. The centerpieces of this era will be, the masterpieces of this era will be drawn in chalk on sidewalks, painted on walls and memoriams, read, sang, and shouted in tribute, and memorialized through replication, forever separated from the artists who render death in tender testimony, whether bullets, bare hands, cops, or another concerned citizen gone rogue. We are one Canva created memorial program away from civil indifference and the side of thoughts and prayers. Little is sacrificed to collect the credit of caring, and the myth that there can be violence that is anything but senseless makes this episode of senseless violence hit with a sad familiarity. Good morning, heartache, and God bless the child. We gather here today to get through this thing called life. We fight to be cleverly quotable. We reverse image search to see who carried our devotion to Instagram. But blood does not wash out of concrete. Memes do not make themselves. And in the end, one less chance to live is lost. And strangers are woven together in grief the way nothing else can. Tears and beers are shared where no brotherhood could be called to bear. We are now reborn in the as yet waxing glow of makeshift memorials and candlelight vigils.
And I think that's how we're going to end these, with a poem from Sylvia Blalock.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you, Sil. I love spending my lunchtime with you.
I love this. Thank you so much. Shout out, Bang Bang.
Thank you for watching. And if you want to follow us, I'm on Instagram, Twitter, at Your Coach Elaine is my handle. And Sylvia, where can we find you?
Uprising-radio.com. And you can find me in SYLVIA Blalock, BLALOCK. I am me everywhere you look.
And there you have it. Have a great Thursday. I like saying happy Friday Eve. And, we'll see you next month.
Whoop, whoop.